And so I put a lot of stock in physical health for personal and professional growth, and I want to talk about that. I don't want us to talk about the unfun, unsexy, no time for it health, but I want to talk about the things that we can do physically, mentally, emotionally, cognitively to take care of the physical machinery and brilliant mind in it, because this is where all of your excellence comes from. Every moment of productivity, every brilliant creative thought, every idea that you conjure, every hard-working day comes from physical body, brilliant mind in it. We need to be able to take care of the engine that drives the mission, not getting far on an empty tank. But as high performers, and that's where I will put this group, you are all striving towards higher levels. Agree or disagree? Yeah, me. I said mediocrity is more common than we know, but I don't think that exists in this room. You are all about incremental improvements, moving towards that. Here's the thing. When we start to move up and get to higher levels of excellence, we have to work harder for those incremental changes at the top end. As Daryl was saying this morning, when you walk into an organization that is completely broken, there's nowhere to go but up. But once you start to strengthen and once you start to improve and once you start to see those changes, the changes that you're going to get are going to be harder won, and they're not going to be as big, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't go after them. What does your version of success look like? Because I believe that has to be a starting point. It's different for every single person in this room. I was presenting for a group of management consultants last week, and I was talking about striving for high levels of success and pushing mediocrity to the side. And one woman at the front said, well, what if that's not what I want? What if I don't want to work as hard as these other people? That's okay. Your version of success is some version of happy, healthy, and financially stable. I do believe it needs to include all three, because you can have all the money in the world, but if you're unhealthy, then you're not going to have the capacity to enjoy it. If you have all the money in the world and you're healthy, but you're not content, then why are we working so hard? What does that look like for you? And I think it's important that we push aside that comparisonitis, because it can be toxifying to pay attention to other people's success and say, I should want that for myself. What do you want for yourself? Think about those things. These are, as a coach, these are what we call inquiries that we kind of put to you to think about and muddle on as you're doing your commute home today, wherever that may be. What does happy, healthy, and financially stable look like for you? And what will help you to improve your own efficiencies in small ways every single day? When you are putting all your energy into the work, taking care of everyone else and everything else, putting all the energy into the programs that you're implementing in your workplace, it's fair to say that most of us will let our own self-care get thrust to the side at times. Yay or nay? Work first? Yeah, and hopefully that's not the case. I wrote a book in 2012 called Energy Now, Small Steps to Another Energetic Life. So I was sitting there nodding this morning when Daryl was talking about Kaizen, because it's in everything. We need to be able to take care of ourselves, and I believe that when we're busy and stressed and stretched, it's okay to go small. If your schedule looks like the busy one I just showed, you might be thinking, I don't have time for myself. I don't have the energy. But I don't think that that means you shouldn't be implementing some sort of small steps, improvements in yourself, in your health, whatever that looks like for you. I would rather that you take small, incremental steps every single day towards the things that you want for yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, rather than a great big leap every couple weeks when the time and energy suddenly becomes available. The challenge is, as go big or go home thinkers, as people who are envisioning better every day, you might be thinking, I'm not going to do it if I can't do it right. Go big or go home. And so we wait for circumstances to be ideal, and then we end up doing nothing. So in order to find time for the things that matter to us, we have to take stock of where we're currently spending our time. So this is based on Stephen Covey's First Things First where you differentiate in your life between what is urgent and important. I'm going to go through this somewhat quickly, but the obligations are all the things that you need to do to stay above board. All the emergencies and deadlines and necessary things that if you don't do them, your life will literally self-destruct. Your work is among them, your childcare is among them. You can't be sitting at home on Tuesday night going, geez, I forgot to pick up Colton from soccer. Repercussions, right? we know. The obligations, when we do them, will help us keep above board. But when we are done with our obligations, which will take up the lion's share of our day, we would do well to jump over in this category called growth. And this is where all the good stuff happens. Preparation, prevention, planning, true recreation, self-improvement, empowerment. When we spend time in the growth category, it will help us get ahead personally and professionally. It is where our exercise go and where our time management practices go, the courses that we are taking to advance ourselves, getting our taxes done on time. It is varied, but everything that will help us get ahead personally and professionally. Seems like a good place to spend time, yes? And yet, in our busy lives, once we've done with obligation, we will tend to defer to what's happening at the bottom. This corner of one here, distraction and deception, is the devil. This is where all the things that aren't necessarily important hang out, and they're right here knocking up against you saying, don't forget about me, pick me, pick me, pick me. 136 on your priority list, but it's right here going, get me out of the way, get me out of the way, get me out of the way. 30 and 60-second tasks on your desk, emails. Don't need to do them now, but we just say, I'll just get out of the way, I'll just get out of the way, I'll just get out of the way. We can waste a lot of time in this category, can we not, if we're not careful. And the last category, just as the name suggests, if we never spend any time here, we'll be just fine. Thank you very much. The waste category is things that aren't necessarily important, aren't necessarily urgent. It's some television programs, it's some meetings, it's a lot of meetings, it's some people, it's some emails, it's Angry Birds, Candy Crush, Pinterest, all of those things. When we say we don't have time, I think that it's a false statement because we will always find time for the things that we want to do. We will always find time for the things that we want to do, and sometimes our choices aren't that good. So we need to pay attention, because the highly self-actualized person will spend less than 2% of their time on those waste activities because they've learned, and you'll pardon the pun, to eliminate the waste and move upward into growth. If we know that spending time in that growth category is going to help us get ahead personally and professionally, then why aren't we scrambling at every spare moment to spend time in growth? Why aren't we? It's not because we're lazy and unmotivated. You guys are crushing it on many levels all day long. It's something that Daryl also alluded to this morning. I'm telling you, we have to tag team. You need to act on that growth category. It doesn't act on you. And you're so busy putting out fires in obligation and distraction and deception all day long, putting out fires, putting out fires, putting out fires, that you say to yourself, I'll get to it when. I'll get to it when I'm not so busy with work. I'll get to it when the kids aren't so busy in their programs. I'll get to it when I get mom settled into her new home. I'll get to it when I'm not so darn tired, right? I'll get to it when. Anybody hear that record skipping in their head? Okay. Growth is your prevention. If obligation and distraction and deception are the fires that you're putting out to be the heroes in your own life, then growth is the prevention that's going to help you. Because if you spend time in growth, it's going to minimize the stress of those other areas. So we need to find time. So the question then becomes, how well are you spending your time? It is one of the wastes, isn't it? It's one of the 7 wastes, or the almost 8s. To ask yourself, what do I need to say no to? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to reconfigure in my life to put a little bit more priority on my own care? It's the first thing that goes when we get busy. We say to ourselves, I don't have time to exercise, I'll just fit it in tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and you say, I don't have time, I'll just do it again tomorrow. And some people have been saying that for years. We say to ourselves, I don't have time to pack a healthy lunch, I'll just grab something on the go. Wendy's has salads, right? Stress doesn't like salad. So when we get to order, it's usually burger and fries, please. Frosty on the side. Or we forego sleep because we've got too many other things to do. So the top 3 resilience practices that we need to push back against the stress are the first 3 that we push aside when the going gets tough. It's counterintuitive.